Well, as mayor of Frostburg, I think the most important role that I have is to try to bring people together. I believe that being a local resident, I've lived here 49 years of my life, raised here, raising my family here, that the more that we can communicate, the more we can work together, the more we can accomplish. Therefore, anything that I can do to bring any factions of the community together, I think is very important. Also part of the community, member of St. Michael's Catholic Church. I have obviously two sons, Max and Brady. My oldest son is the mascot for the high school. His younger brother, Brady, plays for the Mini Miners. I work with the team as their sound engineer and make sure that they have good background music for all their games. Prior to that, I coached Little League within the community for both of my boys for 4 years. Was involved when they were in karate. And basically anything that goes on in town that someone needs help with or a hand with, if I can't do it personally, I try to find folks that can jump in and facilitate things that need to be done in the community. For a number of years I played in a rock and roll band. Played with the Phoenix Band, the Cutthroat Band. The Phoenix fellows are still all around here. Most of the other band members that I've played with over the years have moved on to other things. I either fortunately or unfortunately became the manager of every act that I ever worked with. I booked the jobs, collected the money, paid the bills, and somehow or other that's how I must have earned my business degree, because we now own and operate 3 housing complexes in Frostburg. I take care of about 135 rental units, and it's a family-run business. We've been in business for 21 years, so I've always multitasked. Being the mayor of Frostburg is just another faction of multitasking. But when you have this much vested interest in your hometown, you want things to be right. And as hopefully what I feel is a fairly successful business person in the community, running the business of the city just seems to work with me very well. My father and mother ran a business on Broadway for many years. I think very casually referred to as Little Bobby because I have an older brother, Tommy. My brother Tommy went away to seek his fortunes in Florida. He's still trying to find his fortunes. I, on the other hand, decided to be the one to stay home and take care of Mom and Dad. And unfortunately, I lost my mom very early in life. My father stayed on for a number of years with me. And he was always very big about treat others the way you want to be treated. Buy local. Look after the folks who look after us being our family when we were in business. My dad was president of the Business Association for many, many years. I attended meetings with him when he'd have family nights and things like that. So I knew a lot of the other business people in Frostburg. And of course I got to know their kids, the second generation, or in some cases the third generation of business people. When I became a police officer, I could walk up and down Main Street and stick my nose in just about every business on Main Street or Broadway or Center Street, wherever it was, and everyone knew me. Therefore, it was very hard to be the hard policeman. It was much easier to be the good policeman, and people, I think, felt more confident. They'd call, a lot of times people would call the station and say, could you send Officer Flanigan? Because we know we'd feel confident talking to them about whatever their problem was. Well, I'm still doing that. And people call me at home or get a hold of me through City Hall or whatever, and somehow or other I'm blessed with my father's wit, and that is that there's always a way to work through a problem. Sometimes it just takes listening to someone, and sometimes it takes making a suggestion. And as easy as it is to talk your way out of a problem sometimes listening actually fixes the problem faster. And so after 49 years of experience and being able to communicate, I've learned sometimes it's best just to sit back and listen. And I try to do that with people when they call me and have a problem. The best part of the whole thing is that as mayor, I don't get a lot of complaints. And I say that and knock wood. But I have a good staff, and everyone that works for the city takes it, I think, to heart, what they do. People here at City Hall, our police department, street department, in the middle of a blizzard, different departments help each other out. And we do get blizzards here. We get, as you know, we get bad weather, and everyone has to come together. When we have a natural disaster, back in '99, we had, unfortunately, a very serious tornado blow through. Everyone basically stops what they're doing and helps each other. So when we say friendly Frostburg, it really is something. People put their life on hold for others. And when the mayor is out in the middle of all that, or trying to facilitate something getting fixed, and people see that, I think that spurs that quality in those that maybe otherwise wouldn't jump in and try to help out. Chesapeake Dining Hall, I got a call. Well, actually, of course, in Frostburg, our volunteers were still alerted by audible siren, and I'd heard the sirens. I heard a number of sirens going off, which meant not a good thing. And then next thing, I called the station. I talked to our dispatcher there, Ms. Nightingale, and she explained to me that there was an alarm at the Chesapeake Dining Hall. She didn't have any further information yet. A couple of minutes later, my oldest son, Max the minor, out on his pedal bike, was happened to be around the college, and he calls me and says, "Hey, Dad," he said, "don't know where you're at." And I said, "Hey, I'm just getting in the truck to leave the house." He said, "Yeah, better get over here. There's a lot of smoke coming from the back of Chesapeake." So he and some of his friends were observing it. I went over, picked him up. We went down, met with the fire officials, our fire chief. There was obviously other departments there. It was contained at that point, a good stop, and everyone worked very well together. And basically in an hour and 15 minutes time, we had trucks clearing, going back to their stations. But again, it was one of those situations that was hate to say there's a good time of the day to have an incident, but around dinner time, where there's generally more people available, more volunteers available. It's tough during the day when everyone's at work. So therefore, we had a good turnout. The folks from Aramark did a great job. I contacted Steve Spar from the university. Unfortunately, I forgot he was out of town, but right away we got the ball rolling, and we got talking about what to do if we couldn't open the cafeteria in the morning. And again, knowing all these business people and being a member of the business association, let's make up bonus cards or coupons. Let's do something that the kids that maybe we can't feed, or if we're afraid we're not going to be able to feed everybody. I have restaurants. I know those restaurants would love to get those kids in and show them their menus, and again, kind of open Frostburg back up again. So I was ready to kind of push the go button. And Dr. Gibraltar got in contact with me later in the evening, and he said, "It appears, Bob, we will be open for breakfast in the morning," but understood that you made the offer and so on and so forth, and that's what makes it all work out. Because I try to help the university, he tries to help me. And that era of cooperation continues to grow. He's very proud of it, and I'm very proud of it, because being alumni, I don't want to see anything happen at school. This is where they know this is where my degree hangs on the wall from, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm also very proud of the fact that I can walk across the university today and students recognize me and say, "Hey, Mayor Bob." I could never dream that would happen. So I'm very, very pleased. Well, again, like I say, I pretty much can walk in about anywhere. It's actually kind of a nice thing when I cross the campus and the even maintenance staff driving one of the vans or pickup trucks wave to me. And I'm like, "What is my picture at the post office?" And everyone knows. But of course I wave back, and I know that's respect. And so again, going back to the hometown boy that had known everyone, well, now I'm getting to know everybody at the university. And again, there's been a lot of changes since 1992, since I graduated. But today, I go back to Steve Simpson was my freshman advisor. He first came to Frostburg, and so I've known Steve all those years, and Tom Bowling, people like that. And now when you walk across the campus and you get that respect that you afforded them returned to you, it's pretty special. And I give the university, I give Dr. Gibraltar, his staff, a lot of credit, because he's brought people on board that think and want to work with the community, and I think that's been very, very crucial. Well, again, bringing people together any place is always a good thing, even if there's not an issue. And being that we were able to do it, as we talked the other night at our get-together, that we did in a building that probably shouldn't even be on Main Street at this point. It should have been leveled and gone away after the major damage it suffered. It's kind of nice to sit back and say, "Hey, we were able to save something, and now we're using that to really help people come together." So I think that there's been a lot of good conversation. I think there's been a lot of good ideas that have come out of it. Again, anytime you can town and gown and get people to eat together, which is always said, it's a fantastic thing. There's no better way to make people come together than make them eat together. Because that, and where I come from, that distills that you are all some type of family or some type of working group. So I think it's been very, very good. I guess from attending the dialogues and listening to other people, and especially people from outside of the area that are either here as an invitee or a guest or something like that. And actually the lady I was sitting beside the other night, who's not from Frostburg, she was very complimentary of what I had to say and whatnot. And she said, you know, it appears to me as an outsider, you've got a very good grip on your community. And she said to be able to sit and listen to other people talk, and you seem to really know what's going on. And I said, well, I don't want to say that's why I make the big money, because that's not what it's about. It's about where your heart is and where your spirit is. But in listening to other folks, we seem to all just had the same same plan. We're just using a different map. And honestly, everyone wants to get along in life. Everyone wants to feel wanted and be part of a group. And this is, I really think, helped to facilitate that. And with the difference in ages, again, this year with that planning meeting, we had folks there that were very, very senior. They had some good ideas, and they were longtime Frostburg residents. And I think it would be neat to go back and follow them maybe and say, now, what did you really think about it, or what they said at the card club the next day, you know, and how they felt about the whole thing. So, I mean, I think it's been a very positive experience for the community. I think the one thing that's been, in having the dialogue and listening to students talk, one thing that's been really apparent is that a lot of students come to Frostburg because of the safety. They look at Frostburg, a small town America. It has just enough entertainment quality to, I guess, to offer, or I should say that what they want to do, they can do, and they don't have to worry about walking down the street, being assaulted, being accosted. They don't find anything about Frostburg offensive, and that doesn't matter what race, from what country they're from. I talked to the little girl from China the other night, and she thinks Frostburg's a beautiful little town and would like to stay here longer. And again, we've got such great scenery that it's just a very inviting place. And logistically, if you have a main street and everything kind of starts off Main Street and works north, south, east, west, that makes sense to our visitors too. So it's kind of nice to know that it all seems to fit in the big puzzle of things. I think that if there was any tensions between the university and the city, and I say if there was any, it depends upon what group you talk to. When I first came in office, for many years as a police officer, administration wasn't responsive to the City of Frostburg. City of Frostburg was not responsive to the administration of the university. Dr. Brawler was here a couple years before, obviously, before I became mayor. And you have, again, different factions believing different things. If you have a college background and you've attended Frostburg State, or you attend shows on the campus, you know, or events on campus, things like that, you're more open-minded. And for those folks maybe that didn't attend Frostburg, you know, or didn't grow up here and they don't see the university as anything special to them, that faction makes it sometimes tough to bring everyone together. Unfortunately, when people are injured in your hometown and are injured severely, it opens people's eyes. And I like to say it took two men to come together and say we need to do things so that we can work together. And you know, I'm very happy that John and I were able to do that. And he calls me Bob, so I'll call him John. But that's what friends do. We call each other by first name. And so we've come a long way in a little over 2 years. Doing the dialogue series and having, again, different student-based and locals get together and kind of sit around the round table and look at each other and, again, share food together has opened up, again, other parts of this. And unfortunately, we haven't touched everyone. That's probably never going to happen. There's people that no matter what city, state, county they live in their own world. As long as it doesn't adversely affect them, they don't care. Being in politics now just long enough to know that you can't make everybody happy. And not everybody wants to be made happy. For a lot of people, they're satisfied with the way things are as long as it doesn't happen in their backyard. And if it happens in their backyard and a pot of gold falls in it, then that's great. But as long as nothing bad happens to them in their neighborhood, they're fine with it. And again, so dialogue has allowed me to see that a little bit more, I guess, than I realized before. Well, again, with participating in a dialogue series, and I mean, communication is simple as just listening to what someone else feels, believes. You know, again, it's tough for me sometimes because I want everything to be perfect, and it's not a perfect world. And I work very hard to align people to be able to communicate with one another and work through their problems and not need official controls or official people to get involved in it. It always upset me as a police officer that I would go to a neighborhood and here's two people that live side by side for 50 years and they're arguing over the stupidest thing. And it's like, you've got to be kidding me. You two people are educated people. You both have good jobs, nice homes. You can't work through this yourself. And again, so there is a need sometimes for the outside mediator or someone to say, hey, let's look at it in this direction, look at it in that direction. So I'd like to think I had my communication skills in pretty good order before we all started doing this. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that don't. So I'm sure we've helped more than one. But if we help one, then that's success. And I think we all should be happy about that. With having the mediation office available to the general public in Frostburg, I think is great, because if it's not really a law enforcement type issue or it's not a government issue, again, it's that example of just two neighbors that I'm blocking your driveway and you block my driveway or something like that, and maybe not even that serious, but when people need someplace to go and be able to vent, we really didn't have it before. People a lot of times would use their churches, would use their pastors and things like that, but I don't know if that's really what those folks signed on for. So it's nice to know we have some place to say, hey, here's a card, give these folks a call, and or we'll show you where the location is, and let's get this issue worked out. So you don't need to interject with the police or the city government. And there's a lot of people walk in the front door of this building and have a problem, and we can't solve it for them. But maybe through your office, that's something that could be addressed better. That gives us that outlet now. From participating in a dialogue series and talking to the folks, and this year we've again seeing I want to say a whole new clientele, which is kind of interesting. There was one gentleman there that was there the other evening that used to be very big in working with town and gown. He put a lot of hours in it, and it's interesting listening to what was going on then, say 5-6 years ago, without the cooperation of the university and the city. And I don't say there wasn't cooperation, the communication wasn't there. And now things seem to happen, and they seem to happen quite quickly, and there's not a lot of effort involved in it. So it's kind of a top-down effect. I'd like to say that in Dr. Jabrar's case, his position at the university, obviously as president of the university, is his career. I didn't plan on going into public office to make it a career, but somehow that's happened again. So I'm wearing another hat, and I wear it pretty much full time. And I would like to think that as long as the two of us can work together and continue to grow together, that the need for dialogue will hopefully just naturally occur, and problems will work themselves out, because again, people will see that the two folks at the top can talk. I think that's very apparent when we all get together and Dr. G comes and I come and we kind of stand and can converse about all kinds of things, and that's made it a lot more fun too. But again, looking at the diversity of people that have been coming to the meetings, and again, this year has been a whole new set of faces. I think it says volumes for how important it is to community. Well, the attendees of the Dialogue series it's a good cross-section of people. I would think it would take us years and years and years to get maybe folks from certain other areas of the community. And again, I'd like to draw back to the fact that for a lot of people, if it's not broke, they don't want to fix it. And if they don't see where there's anything that they need to discuss with anyone, you're not going to get them there. No matter if we serve surf and turf for everyone, or offer a free movie or a gas card, it's just probably not going to happen. For those folks that want to interject or have ideas, and want to have a vested interest in the community and want to be able to tell someone about it, I think it's a great outlet for them. Somewhere back in the, I want to say the late 90s, there was a group, and I would say it was one of the fraternal groups on campus or one of the sororities, got permission from City Hall, again for just city streets, to establish red paw prints to emulate the Bobby Cat walking towards the university. Well, of course, over time, paint wears, the streets get repaved, things like that. Kathy Deal and I have known each other since high school, Kathy was one of the ladies that would follow when I played in the band. Her and her friends would come and hear us and so on and so forth. So we go back a long way. And she contacted me at one of the dialogues, actually very early on, I guess year before last, and she said, hey, at some point, I would love to put the Bobcat paws back down. And she said, do you know anybody I could talk to about that? And I said, well, I know this guy happens to be the mayor. I said, I think he'd be okay if we did Bowery Street and maybe College Avenue. I said, how many paws do you really want to tell me do we want to do or whatever? So she managed to get the stencils put together, and again, one of those things, I grabbed 8 traffic cones, my truck, her husband, their youngest son came along, and in an hour and 20 minutes we had Bobcat paws down. It's not that tough to do. You just lay 2 stencils and you keep painting and you move up every so far. But again, we did it early in the evening prior to about 8:30 at night, so there was a fair amount of college foot traffic. We did it on a Tuesday evening, and it was not too far before graduation. I think we did about 2 weeks before graduation, so we had a lot of seniors that appeared that evening just seeing us, starting with the manager at Giuseppe's, who thought it was the coolest thing he'd ever seen, and just blocking traffic on the right-hand side and doing our spray paint thing. And as we got close to the university, we were stopped by more and more students. We're not wearing anything official. No one really knows, those students really don't know who we are. I was only recognized by one, and, jeans and a t-shirt, and explained to him, yeah, we're doing this because we want it to look, want the city to look nice for graduation. This way it'll help parents find, where the PE center is and so on and so forth. And the common thread was, you're doing this for us. And you're local people, and this is really cool. And you're doing that for us? And we heard that once, we heard that 5 or 6 times. And I would stop and get to know who they were and so on and so forth. So everybody's got their picture phones, they're taking pictures, they're throwing it on their Facebook pages. And the one girl says, as she's typing in, I'm talking to Mayor Bob, and he's putting down Bobby Cat paw prints for us, so our parents will be able to find us at graduation and so on and so forth. And it was really a very heartwarming, kind of neat thing to do. And I know the university police rode by a couple times to check on us, city police come by a couple times to check on us, but we made it very unofficial. And I'm really glad we did. I mean, I could have called for a couple police cars to run traffic, but I did traffic for 20 years. You turn things off and you protect yourself and you go. And everyone, all the motorists, slowed down, would look, would smile, we'd get waves, so on and so forth. And it all seemed to be very, very positive. I mean, for the future of Frostburg and Frostburg State University working together, and realizing that the dialogue series, again, is a grant-funded advantage that we have right now that may go away in the future, but there's other things that we've talked about, the off-campus housing office, and some other issues that I think are real important just to keep the lines of communication open. I would like to see, and I really believe that as long as the university, City of Frostburg, continue to intermingle, and by that I mean we're intermingling obviously a lot more than we did just 2-3 years ago. Everyone be cognizant of the fact that we're raising a baby, and the baby's just starting to toddle a little bit, and there's going to be rocks in the road, and we're going to have to reach down together as a team and move them. And I think that will continue. I think we've set a tone for that, And I really see in talking to people in the community, it should have always been like this. And talking to people on the campus, this is so great. It's what we've always needed. It just has to, we have to keep that fire burning. No matter what happens, if, again, like I say, when we had, speaking of the fire, when we had the issue at Chesapeake the other night, that the mayor showed up as a representative for the president of the college. Can Dr. G show up as a representative for me if I'm away with the family on a trip or something like that? I wish he would. I have confidence in him, he has confidence in me, and we want to try to, show that to the public, and I think the public's really seeing it. They're really picking up on it. The media's picking up on it. Again, it's unfortunate we have to have so many ways to try to communicate today. And in the dialogue series, we just looked at each other and talked. But see, the university and I do that every day. So as long as we continue that, I believe that it'll grow. And we'll keep watering it, and it'll continue to fester within the community to the point of where people will call Frostburg the home of Frostburg State University, once again like they used to call it the home of FSC. And it'll be a warm and fuzzy thing. And I also think that as much as the locals have to continue to buy into it, our university students do too. And our university students have to show themselves in good conduct. They have to show themselves in the proper light. And if they do something to tarnish the look, they have to be prepared to suffer the consequences. And I know the university is more than happy to dole those consequences out, along with our judicial system, because we won't tolerate it. So there's controls in place, they will be utilized, but I think for the most part that with maturity hopefully taking hold here very shortly, it's early in the semester, and I know it's first time away for many students. Mother Nature will start kicking in here, as she has done the last 2 nights and gotten a lot chillier, and remind people that it's time to buckle down. So, I'm looking forward to a great 2013-2014 school season, and I really appreciate the opportunity to work with the dialogue series in the last 3 years.